Blood and Brine, written by Rob Stafford. Narration and image by Rob Stafford. The setting sun glistened off its oceanic mirror, yielding its celestial throne to the moon. Calling gulls circled the sailing vessel whose blood-stoked deck testified to the violence committed in the name of human comfort. "Gentlemen!" A large leather-skinned captain raised his voice above the chattering around the table. His shirt bunched over his sagging pants, which threatened to fall down with each step over the past month. "Tomorrow we will moor in Nantucket. It has been a long 2 years, but all of you have displayed your grit and constitution. Once we offload the barrels and fill your pockets with coin, you will return to your wives and children." A murmur went up among the men surrounding the table. "Lads, do not be dismayed," the captain bellowed. "If the Lord be good, you will only be home a handful of months before casting out again. It would be a great honor to have you all on my next whale hunt. Here's to you! May your purses be fat and your harpoons strike true." The captain lifted his tanker as the rest of the officer mess fumbled for their own. Each raised a thundering cheer for their leader and pounded on the table, the pewter finery clinging along with their thumping praise. "Dig in! You all have earned it!" Passing around a tortoiseshell, they dipped their hands into the carapace to pull out the cooked meat. That afternoon, the chief cook found their animal prisoner licking the port quarter of the ship. The sailors believed that the ancient sea guardians never thirst. Oh, how history proved them fools. Cheese in a variety of color lay thrown about the table like an artist testing shades of paint. As the constellation shone bright, guiding the helmsman ever onward, jests and stories were swapped, each officer not wanting to be outdone by another. Laughter erupted as the last cask surrendered its final drops of wine. Deckhands looked down from the main hatch, their faces pulled taut and enviously drooling with a meager piece of hardtack in hand. Each mentally tallied the remaining voyages before they could be counted among the revelers. The first mate banged his cup on the table as he rose to give his speech. As his lips moved to form the words, the wooden floor beneath them violently shifted, a loud thud from the impact bouncing around their wooden walls. The mate flipped over the table while many others cascaded down their stools. Guffaws mixed with curses rang out as the drunkards speculated what led to their mass tumble. "What in the bloody hell is going on?" The captain barked at the sea dog, who still stared down at the officers, eyes wide as a moon. "We've stopped, sir!" the ship's steerer shouted. "There's wind in our sails, but we're stationary." "Take a sounding! See if we've run a bank!" "Aye, sir!" "There shouldn't be any sandbanks this close to home," one officer yelled. "The sea is a cruel mistress. Do you think she needs to tell us before shifting her coastal hauls?" another voice replied. As the officers regained their feet, the sound of a striking hammer echoed around the wooden vessel. Do you think it's a whale?" the second mate asked in a low voice. "If it were, it would have tipped us over, not halted us completely," the first mate responded. The scratching sound of wood mixed in with the hammer. The only living sound from inside the hall came from the hushed breaths of the men standing stiffly as paranoid cats. Their eyes frantically darted between one another as if to spot a traitorous blade. The captain fingered a blue cobalt pistol around his waist that he acquired on Madagascar when they sailed homeward. Not even 2 pints of ale could coax the full story from his lips, but the firearm never left his reach. Summoning his courage, he said, "Mr. Chase, let's go above and see what trickery this be. You three, get bailing buckets ready for the crew. Garner your strength. We cannot let the men discover our fear." A panic cry erupted from the deck. "Captain, we've been—" A dark, snake-like form blotted out the stars behind the seaman as it rose ever upward. In an instant, a tentacle entombed his body and muffled the sailor's voice. His scream came out as a whisper. The ship rocked as if held in the hands of a playful child, launching the captain towards the netting leading to the deck. White waves crashed down the main hatch, pelting the captain as he struggled up the rigging. Grains of salt gritted against his gums as his next orders became a gargling of water. The wooden beams of the ship groaned and threatened to snap as the officers struggled to find their footing up. Reaching the deck, the men stabbed at the slimy beast with harpoons. The wood was slick with a mix of coagulated purple blood and seawater. "Come on, you sea dogs!" the first mate yelled as he drew his cutlass. "Will you let Poseidon take your soul so easily?" First mate Chase charged with such tenacity that every onlooker gasped how quickly his body snapped and wrapped around the mast from the unenthused flick of a purple arm. The disturbed sea demanded his silence as it filled his open mouth. Unlatching a leather pouch at his side, the captain groped for a red cartridge. Hands shaking, it took him twice as long to load his sidearm. The monster grabbed at the child, who ran with a barrel of gunpowder towards the sailors, readying a cannon. The captain aimed at the constricting coffin and fired. The bullet struck true. Flames erupted from the side of the tentacle, cauterizing the wound as quickly as it was dealt. The ship rocked violently as a deep, gargling roar shook the water around him, churning it white. The young powder monkey was released, red pucker marks dotting his skin as the charred limb retreated back into its oceanic abyss. Before the veteran could reload, a slimy, leathery rope wrapped around him. He felt himself raised up from the deck. Struggling, he shouted for help and salvation from his crew or the Lord above. The last thing he saw while plummeting towards his watery grave was a large beak snapping at the air. As the sun awoke the next morning, shattered wood lay upon the beach of Nantucket as young kids splashed around the last remnants of the vessel. Gold letters on splintered wood reading Hapak were found dashed against a rock formation. Mourners gathered at the Friends meeting house as the town bell rang 21 times for those who now rested in the waterline halls. Widows wailed as the merchant sponsors whispered about their losses. The Friends on the island recounted fond times while letters were sent out to those absent. Ending the ceremony was a bitter silence that lasted an eternity as the seconds passed. Soon, another ship of slaughter set sail to the sea. Thank you for listening. This has been an Eclipse Fiction production. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to be notified when our next video comes out. Let us know what type of stories you like down in the comments below. Thank you for watching.